You're listening to the Startup Croydon podcast. Joining me in the studio this morning is Matthew Sims, who is the CEO of Croydon Business Improvement District. Good morning, Matthew.
Morning, good to be here.
Great to see you. Lots going on with BID, lots going on in Croydon. Tell us about some of the stuff you've been up to.
Well, there's loads going on in Croydon at the moment. I think, generally speaking, most people, if you ask them what's Croydon BID, most people would say I have absolutely no idea.
Must be very frustrating.
So the Business Improvement District, it represents 500 of the largest businesses across the town centre. And I think their needs are really similar to the needs of those that live here, those that visit here. And again, those needs then replicate down in terms of what Croydon Business Improvement District is doing. The biggest thing for us is and has always been safety and security. Mm-hmm. How do we take the town centre? How do we work with the town centre communities, particularly the business community, in terms of improving safety across the town centre? It's always there. Everybody's talking about the safety and security and about how it needs to improve. So we're working very, very closely with the Croydon Met Police. We work very closely with the local authority and lots of the other agencies in terms of how can you take such a large issue and how can you look to improve some of those challenges that we have, particularly from our point of view: shoplifting, antisocial behaviour, violence against staff and the like. How can we join it all together? How can we improve the intelligence flow and making sure that we're collectively working together? So that's probably the first thing. The second, and I think we all experience this everywhere we go, is we arrive into a destination, we take a look around, and we immediately have first impressions. You've got 30 seconds to be able to say, this is what I think about an area. And so when you arrive into Croydon, we've got 30 seconds to be able to sell it and to be able to say, welcome. And we've got challenges with that because it's not necessarily where we want it to be. So we do want to improve the cleanliness, the state of our streets. We want to be able to work with the businesses so that their businesses look improved, and we can work with them to do that. How we take areas that have been neglected for such a long time, how we look at graffiti and how we work on some of those issues. So they're probably our two main focus areas at the moment. And then the other part really is about how do you revitalise a town centre? How do you work and adapt it so that it is ready for the future? Mm-hmm. The past few years have been it's been a myriad of different challenges that we face, and it almost seems that you know we've got one challenge where you go through the pandemic and you work through those issues and problems. You get to the cost of living. We have high levels of vacancies across the town centre and the like. And also, you know, Croydon needs to work out what it wants to be and where it wants to go. And that's the visioning piece. That's what we want to work with our business community. But I think our partners want to work with the rest of the community to work out what should that be.
You mentioned antisocial behaviour and crime being two key areas that you guys are working on. Tell us what you guys are doing at Croydon BID to try to alleviate this issue.
Every time we talk to businesses, safety comes up first. Antisocial behaviour, conflict with staff, shoplifting and the like. So it's an absolute priority. So we have a series of services that they cannot deliver value into the town centre unless they are working in partnership with other services. I think the major part for us is the Croydon BID Street Rangers. There are 4 of them that go out into the town centre. They provide reassurance, visibility. They work with the businesses in terms of intelligence and intelligence flow of some of the issues and the altercations that are taking place. They have the ability to be able to work with businesses on a day-to-day basis. They provide the patrols, 160 hours of coverage across the town centre every week, 4 of them. And with that, we have Croydon BID Radio Link. And all of the businesses are now taking up the Croydon Bid radio link, because if you're a business, you get onto the radio contacts the Rangers are in your premises within 5 to 10 minutes, and it's responsive, it's proactive, it's working. I think the biggest thing for us is how you work with the police and how you work with the front line. And they will always be the front line. But again, how do we link up our business community with the police and with the work that we are delivering in the town centre to be able to meet their needs? So, I think recently, and a great example of this is we did a safer action business day with the police, with security teams from retailers across the country that are situated within Croydon town centre. 56 people inside a room, all with the same aim and objective, and that's improving the safety and security in the town centre, to work together across the piece and to be able to improve not just the lives of the businesses that we work with, but also the people that come into Croydon as consumers. So there's a whole host of different things that we have in place for safety. They're probably the top 3 for us.
What impact is it having on businesses? Have you had feedback from them?
It's having a massive impact for businesses. You can't get away from it. You can't spin it in any way that, you have employees who come into the retail sector who are concerned about their safety, in the same way that others who come into the commercial sector are equally concerned about their safety. If an area isn't safe or doesn't feel safe, the ability to be able to attract in higher footfall, to deliver positive things for an area that really make an impact, becomes that much more challenging.
Sure.
And so it's difficult for businesses. If you take the impact of the pandemic and the cost of living, you then add the issues around safety and security to that, and it becomes a real slog. They quite rightly want something to happen and for improvements to be made. And I think the Met Police and the partners like Croydon Bid and others are working towards that. And I think we're starting to see some real improvements, but it will take time.
And what is your goal ultimately in this area?
I think the goal, and I think it has to be a realistic goal in terms of what you can actually achieve. And I think the goal would be to reduce the impact of antisocial behaviour, shoplifting, violence towards staff and the like, to reduce that impact, reduce the numbers of reported crimes. But I think for me what's important is, if I were to ask a shop owner right now or a business right now how they were being affected by crime and antisocial behaviour and their feeling of safety, and I jump forward 5 years, if that was on a downward curve, that is success. And the feeling of crime and security, not just in Croydon, but outside Croydon, because we get hammered a lot in terms of our perception and how we're viewed. Again, if you erode that over time and we start to become a town and a city that is considered welcoming, and it removes a lot of these issues. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you're also talking about the revitalisation of Croydon. Tell us a bit about that.
We want energy. We want Croydon. For me, look, the best thing about Croydon for me is its people. There's no two ways about it.
In what way?
Oh God!
What is so unique about the Croydonites?
We're all so different. I think that's the biggest thing, is that we are all so different. There's so much passion here. Whether you are unhappy with the current situation, whether you have a loyalty towards the locality, you want more, want better, whatever it might be. The one thing I've always got from the people of Croydon is the spirit that, yes, we want more. unquestionably. But the determination to be able to collectively come together and to be able to work that through, I've seen it on so many occasions across so many of the years, and that, it fills me with it's just heartwarming.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm. Where do you think that comes from? That resilience and that drive and that wanting for things to get better? Do you think that because they've had it tough in many ways?
So I think, I've been in the job 12 years. I've been in Croydon for nearly 20 years. Croydon wears its heart on its sleeve. Whatever happens here, everybody knows about. And it's right there for everybody to see. 20 years ago, Croydon was, and some may say is still, the butt of all jokes. And that's fine. And, you can have a good laugh and all that sort of stuff. No worries. The resilience comes from the fact that Croydon, for me, and this is just my personal view, is that Croydon is a sleeping giant. And we will wake up. We will come out. And I think the fact that we have people who are willing to join that fight and to be able to collectively come together and to say, joke all you like. But the likelihood is that most people who are laughing at the expense don't really know this borough. They don't really know what makes it up.
They don't tend to have a clue. I've experienced that as well. They don't generally tend to have any other idea apart from what they've heard. They have no insight. Often they've never been here. They've never seen many of the places. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the initiatives that are taking place. It's just a plain stereotype that's been fed to them by the media, and they just go by that, which is unfortunately human nature. Very shallow.
And so, I mean, you take recently, and it's an interesting thing that happened recently. There's a poll that was released to say that Croydon was the most depressing borough in London, which is fine. It's fine. Now, we issued, to counteract that, 50 great things to do in Croydon. It's created a stir, no question. What it's done as part of that is lots of people have said, why isn't this on the list? Or this, or this, or this, or this. And the list grows. And you start to see that actually Croydon, being the biggest borough by residential population in London, has quite a lot going for it.
What are some of those 50 things?
Oh, wow. So some of those 50...
I won't ask you to name all 50.
Yeah. So, and he'll appreciate me for saying this. The Ludicrous Cafe is one of those. You've got the Fox, you've got Fern, you've got Crushed Bean.
Fern I have been to.
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes.
Crushed Bean's lovely.
Yes. You've got a lot of the old establishments as well, like the Dog and Bull, the Green Dragon. You've also David Lean Cinema. You've got lots of other places like that. And you put all of this together, and actually, Croydon's got quite a lot going for it.
I think Fern and Box Park have made a major impact because they're right at the heart of when you enter into Croydon, and there's not anywhere quite like Fern.
No, and I think what you have to do with a lot of these things, maybe for you and I, Fern is right up the top. In the same way, with if you're a sports fan, Box Park is amazing, particularly when we go to Euros or the World Cup and all that sort of stuff. But equally, there are lots of things for others who would say, I prefer going to, this would be on my top list in terms of a location to go to and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot here. What we have to do is we've got to be able to counteract the message. Got to be able to say, actually, come and experience it. Try it out. You might surprise yourself.
So PR and perception, unfortunately, can be incredibly powerful. And it seems to be quite a significant part of the problem for many businesses. here, in that when they are speaking to people from outside of Croydon, the perception that others have of Croydon isn't fantastic. Are there any plans at all to kind of tackle the PR problem head on beyond just sort of improving the area? Because PR is a bit of a different ballgame.
I think in answer to the question, yes, there has to be. What Croydon, I think, needs to work out first is where it's going and what its future looks like. And then it will need to, I want to call it a PR strategy, but it will need to put around that vision and its direction, how it moves forward, how it then communicates that.
Yeah.
How it communicates that out to the media, how you're able to engage with the media in order to be able to, because every place across London, and it's the same across the UK, will receive its elements of negative press media. Croydon gets a lot. And what we need to do in a coordinated way is to be able to form that narrative around the vision in terms of where we want to get to, and to be able to work with the media to be able to present a different side, a different approach, and a different narrative to Croydon to the one that maybe they've seen or heard. And that's really important. And I think it's certainly possible for us to do, but in a coordinated, joined up way.
You're talking about vision. Before one can embark on the PR activity, one has to have a very clear vision, which is obviously very important in leadership. That's your role, right?
Yeah.
Vision is priority. What do you see? Do you have any inkling or idea at the moment, or is it still in formation as to what the vision for Croydon is going to be? Is it unfolding? Or?
So I think anybody listening to this will immediately come to the point: what's happening with the Whitgift Centre?
Yeah.
What's happening with Westfield? What's happening generally in terms of the regeneration of the town centre, and how's it going to look? There is definitely a need to be able to work with communities across the borough to be able to understand what do they want, what do they need, and then in order for us to, and I say us very, very loosely, but for the stakeholders to be able to work that through, and to create a vision that has a long-lasting, sustainable feel to it. The vision is absolutely pivotal, and everybody's got to be in it to be able to for it to work. I think vision is generally one of those terms that you whether you use in business or whatever, is generally what's the future look like, and that's what it's all about. We've got to be really clear about that, and then once we have that, then we have to see the investment, then we've got to see the move and the improvement, and we've got to see the change. Now, what's interesting with the town centre, and it's not all about Westfield. The town centre is actually regenerating. So you can see cranes across the town centre. You are seeing change, particularly up at East Croydon train station.
But we are also seeing many shops disappearing from the town centre.
Yeah.
And many bargain shops appearing.
Yeah. There's, again, it comes down to your wish, my wish, in terms of what I'd love to see. I might like to see a Bill's restaurant in the town centre.
I'd love to see a Bill's restaurant in the town centre.
Yeah, we all have our different wishes, our different hopes, our different wants. The pandemic, and you got to go back. You can't fudge it anyway. Is that, every single town centre and high street is affected by the impact of the pandemic and the way in which our town centres need to change and adapt. That was always going to bring with it a level of vacancy. We are dealing with that, and it's very, very difficult because, vacancies and having spaces filled is market driven.
Mm-hmm.
So if a pound shop works really well in Croydon town centre and makes the money, then they are going to come a knocking. What I would like to see happen in Croydon town centre is a much more considered curation of the town centre, to inject that aspirational feel as to what that future might look like, and working with providers like Bills, saying to Bills, take a chance on Croydon, come in, see what it's like, and let's see if we can't curate Croydon in the way that maybe we'd want it to be. But my view, your view, is very different to the views of others. And that's where the consultation comes in. That's why it's so important.
Absolutely. So the next year ahead, what are you going to be busy with?
The next year ahead is all about improving the safety and security and improving the look and feel of the town centre. The two fundamentals. So safety and security for us will just evolve and grow and develop in terms of being able to support the town centre and the businesses that we represent with that aspect of their day. And it's really important. It's not going to go away. It's not going to be solved in a year, but we need to continually erode and introduce services, enhance services that we've already got to be able to deliver the value that they need. So safety is core and key. The look and feel, we need to adapt and we need to change, and we are looking to improve and scale up the look and feel services that we have in place, from the basic cleansing, the removal of graffiti in the town centre, the support from a cleansing point of view with the businesses that we work with and we represent, looking at neglected spaces across the town centre, of which there are many, and being able to maintain those properly. And again, we're going to have to do that independently, but also in collaboration with partners. So they're probably the two focused areas that we've got for the year ahead.
So you're going to be a busy guy
yes,
for the year
always,
ahead and beyond.
Always.
But Matthew, it's been a delight to have you here in the studio this morning. Thank you for giving us an insight into what you're up to at Croydon Bid, and for letting our listeners know. And it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.